All right, good evening, everybody. This is part 2 of our topic C practice quiz for Unit 1. So we're just going to go on ahead and get started here. Like I said, just give me a little bit of wiggle room. We're at home, so there might be a little bit of noise in the background, which is totally cool. But we're going to go ahead and get started with number 4. Remember that if you need to pause and take some time to catch up, go ahead and stop the video, and then if you feel like you're getting it, you're good, then just write down as we go along. All right, so here we go. We're going to start with number 4. Number 4 says, and we have a newborn opossum that weighs this amount of pounds. What is the weight of the opossum rounded to the nearest 10,000th pound? That's going to be the most important thing because we are rounding to that place value. And then it asks us to write it in scientific notation. All right, so we have the value 0.000287. We're being asked to go to the nearest 10,000th pound. So we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000. So this is our goal. This is our key value, place value here. And we're going to use this number over here to round this either up or down. So I know it's a little messy, so I'll rewrite this. We've got 0.000287. That means this is going to turn into a 0.000. This 8 is going to move the value up, so we're going to be at a 3. So this is the number that we're then going to change into scientific notation. So I've got 3 needing to be my base value, or my base number, which will put the decimal here, and I'm going to move it until I get to this decimal over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So this is going to be written as 3 times 10 to the negative 4th. And so we know that it's going to have a negative exponent on it because this is a really small number. The weight of a baby possum is to the negative 4th because it's a really tiny baby. All right, so that's number 4. We're going to move on to our 5th one. I will tell you guys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, that this is going to be the most intensive one on our quiz. We've had a couple of quizzes that haven't been as crazy. So take your investment time in here, because what you'll see for a problem like this is that this one says choose all that applies. So if you don't choose all, the way Eureka typically works is that you get 0 credit for it. It's usually an all or nothing. So for the amount of work that it's going to require for you to know which ones to choose, Mr. Roden, Ms. Hendricks, and myself would be expecting that you guys would take the time, especially on this one. There's some that don't require as much investment. This one does. So we're going to start with A. Okay. Put little check. I'm going to put little boxes here so we can check, or I'll probably color them in with the ones that work. Okay. So we got to break this down for each one of them. Our first thing that we're comparing in problem number 5 is the spider silk millimeter diameter to pet dander. Okay, so I'm gonna change this into different colors depending on the problem. So this is letter A, and I'm looking at the silk spider web, and I'm comparing that to the pet dander diameter. Okay, so spider silk comes first, so we're going to list it first because that's what we're comparing it to. 4 times 10 to the negative 3rd, and pet dander diameter is 5 times 10 to the negative 4th. So in order for us to get to the solution that we need, we are going to bring this one over so that we can compare it, because this one was listed first. Okay, so I'm going to divide this by itself. That's what we do when we're trying to bring values to compare. We're going to divide over here 5 times 10 to the negative 4th. And now this kind of goes back to number 3. Number 2. Oh, I'm sorry, all the way back to number 1, where we divided the top and bottom. So we see here that we've got 2 splits here. We've got a 4 divided by 5 and the powers of 10 dividing into each other. So 4 divided by 5 is actually the same as 8 over 10, or 0.8 tenths. Okay, So I've done my first piece here. My second is 10 to the negative third divided by 10 to the negative fourth. When we have those exponents, we subtract them. So negative 3 minus a negative 4 gives us a positive 1. So then that means that this is going to be multiplied by a power of 10 to the exponent of 1. This is the same as rewriting 0.8 times 10, which is going to move the decimal place 1 to the right, which means that we are going to end up with a value of 8. So this is saying that the spider silk diameter is about 8 times as large as the pet dander. So what that means is that this is going to be a correct solution, okay? So in order for us to actually truly know without guessing, we need to test all of these problems, okay? So let me see if I can pull this down. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to go to our second problem. Our second problem, letter B, is human hair and dust mite diameters. Okay, so again, 1 second. Okay, so if I have human hair, it's listed first. So that's going to be our value of 8 times 10 to the negative 2 time, or not times, but we're comparing that to the amount of times that dust mite diameter is in its diameter. So we've got 1.25 times 10 to the negative 1 value, okay? So now we're gonna do the same thing we did in the other one. We're just going to divide. We're gonna go a little bit quicker on this just so that we can not have a 50-minute video. 1.25 times 10 to the negative 1. On this test, boys and girls, we're probably going to have a calculator available because we've used that in class for this part of our unit. So when we take 8 divided by 1.25, that's our first piece, we end up getting 7 5/10. Okay, now you could go through and look at this piece if you wanted to, but remember in B, it says 64 times larger. I don't know about you, but I can't think of any times 10 to 7.5 that would get us back to 64. So what that means is we know that option B is not going to work. It's not going to be an option. So I'm going to go on ahead and I'm just going to put a line through it. Okay, that's a no-go. Okay, so now we got to continue. I know this is a lot of work that goes into it, but if we're investing this much time on the video, then I would assume that probably means that we would need to invest that much time on this question for our quiz. Okay, so now we're going to head into letter C. Letter C is about the diameter of a dust mite and of pet dander. We're comparing those two. So we've got dust mite and we are comparing that to pet dander. Okay. Our dust mite is 1.25 times 10 to the negative 1. And our pet dander is 5 times 10 to the negative 4. Okay. So in order to compare, because dust mite was labeled first, we're going to bring the pet dander value over. It's the same thing on the other side, 5 times 10 to the negative 4. Same process, guys. We are going to actually divide this. 1.25 over 5 is the same as 1 over 4. Keep in mind this is equal to 0.25. We'll need that with the scientific notation. Then we look at the second piece with 10 to the negative 1 and 10 to the negative 4. We subtract the exponents when we are dividing. So negative 1 minus a negative 4 is the same as 3. The same as 0.25 times 10 to the third value. This right here equals 3. Okay. So I actually have to calculate that. This tells me, this 10 to the third power tells me that 0.25 as a decimal that needs to move 3 place values. When I do that 1, 2, 3 times, that means my solution is 250 times a difference, okay? Or 250 times in size. So that tells me that this letter C is going to be an option. We've got 250 times as our value. Okay, so A and C work. Again, if you're like, oh man, they're only going to have two, that's what Eureka wants you to think. And that's when we get people to have errors and needing to work back on error analysis. Okay, so I'm going to try and squeeze in as many as I possibly can. And we only have two left. So I'm going to go a little smaller. We got spider silk diameter, and we have the dust mite diameter. Okay, so the spider silk value is 4 times 10 to the negative third. And what's really nice about this is that they've already given us the values and we've worked with all of them. So it's just a matter of finding the right ones again and writing them accurately. Guys, if you don't write a negative exponent on any of these, first of all, it tells me we probably don't remember that we're dealing with really small objects here. But also, it will completely change the value of your number. When you get into algebra, guys, next year, years after that, as you get going in your high school career with higher level math, details are going to be really important. So I've got 10 to the negative 1 value. Okay, so now I'm going to divide 1.25 times 10 to the negative first. 1.25 times 10 to the negative first. Okay, so now I'm going to do this first value again. 4 divided by 1.25 is 3.2. Okay, so if we go over here, we see that we've got a 3 and a 2 as a base number. So we do have to keep going through to make sure this isn't a match. I've got a negative 3 minus 1. So negative 3 minus a negative 1 gives us a value of 3.2 times 10. And this is a negative 2 now to the negative 2 power. So when I look at this, I know in my head that this can't make sense because a negative exponent means I'm going to have a really small number, and 320 is not a small number when we're talking about decimals. So, and comparing small things. So, this shows us that that does not work. All right, guys, we have one more left to do. It is important that you do all of the options because that way you know if you've completed all of them correct. So our last one is pet dander, or that you've made the right choices. We have pet dander, and we have the dust mite diameter. Okay, so the pet dander is 5 times 10 to the negative fourth. And our dust mite is 1.25 times 10 to the negative 1. So in order to get this over on the other side, because that's the one we need to compare, we are comparing it to pet dander, we're going to move it on to the other side as well. When I do that, I have to tackle this first piece. So when I do 1.25 times, or 5 divided by 1.25, it gives me a value of 4. Okay, so when we go back to problem number 5, this is big because we have a 4 as our base number here. So we can't stop. We got to keep going to make sure that we are not mischoosing or not identifying one that is correct. So we're going to go into the next piece. I've got times power of 10. So this is saying that I've got negative 4 minus a negative 1, which is going to give me times 10 to the power of negative 3. Okay, because negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. So when I look at this, again, you could be really tricked because 4 times 10 to the positive 3 is 4,000. This is not, negative 3 is not 3. So that means that that will not work as an option. So our only two options are A and C. All right, here we go. Our last problem, guys and girls, it is a subtraction one. This one, if you go too fast, look at these options here. We've got ones that are very similar all the way through. So I'm going to start off by rewriting my problem. 8.3 times 10 to the negative 8 minus 5.6 times 10 to the negative 9. So I don't know what the other teachers did in their classes, but for me, I always like to work with moving my decimal to the left, okay? If I move my decimal to the left, then that means that my exponent increases. In this case, since I have a -9, that means it's going to increase to -8 because that's our next step up in negative land. So I'm going to work with changing this side of things because I want to not have to change things at the end. So I'm going to rewrite 8.3 times 10 to the -8 minus, and if I'm moving it to the left, that means that this is now 0.56 times 10 to now the -8. So see what we did here, because I moved this one place value to the left, it increased and changed my exponent. The reason why I'm doing this is because I have to have the same exponent value in order to subtract, knowing that I'm not going to be misplacing a place value. Now I say that, but so many times at this point, we've changed the place value. We've had so many great thoughts around how we're gonna rock number 6 and get it right. And then here comes along basic subtraction, and it gets in the way of us getting to the correct solution. We cannot take 6 away from 0. If I have 0 apples, you can't take 6 from me, okay? So I have to borrow more apples. This becomes a 2. This is now a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4, locked in. 2 minus 5 can't do. If you have 2 pennies, I can't take 5 of them. So I'm going to cross this next place value out and move 10 over. 12 minus 5 is 7, and my last place value is a 7. So I know that I have the correct value for my base number, and then I have to remember that what I have been working in is in a power of 10 with the -8 exponent. So this is the same as letter C. There's some ways on the last two that you can get really tricked through it. So study hard. Make sure you work through the notes if you need to back up, reverse any of that, or pause, take a break, or go forward because you feel like you're getting it. Then those are some good strategies. Good luck tomorrow. Take your time, do your best. Hard work plus dedication equals success. That's how you do it. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.